Hi there, Eli here with my brother and co-host Joshua from This Is Something, and today we bring you a film review.
So turn on lights, grab your popcorn. This is Movies. Springtime for Hitler in Germany. Oh, that's right. We're talking about the producers, Gene Wilder, Zara Mostel, directed by Mel Brooks. And
Not Mel Gibson?
Not Mel Gibson, no.
Damn.
No. Very different Jewish movie.
Well, you think about it, they both do kind of play in their own movies a lot.
Yeah. So, my favorite comedy of all time.
Really? That's really hard for me to quantify.
Well, yeah, it's hard for me to quantify my favorite movie and even to break it down to a genre and break down my favorite movie.
It's like when you get one of those things that says, like, what's your favorite food? And you're like, do I look like I have a single favorite food?
Yeah.
I like food, you know. So, yeah, but yes, this is actually a really great movie. Now, you have this on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you get it?
Yeah, from you.
Oh, yeah, I'm that awesome.
And honestly, I count that as one of my 5 greatest Christmas gifts I've ever received. You know,
I think it's the best one I've ever given you.
I don't receive
one of the only ones I've ever given you.
I don't receive a lot of Christmas gifts, and that you know, and so it's easy for me to pick them out. But I knew when you had bought it, you were considering keeping it for yourself, and you had gone. You knew it was my favorite comedy. You knew it was one of my favorite movies.
You told me about it, and I saw it at the store. I was like, oh man, I should get this and watch it. And I was like, nah, I need to give it to Josh.
And you came in and gave it to me. Man, it's just one of my favorite gifts I've ever received. Partly because it's my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies of all time, one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But also because there was it was a well thought out gift. You know, it was there wasn't just
specific.
Like it was a specific. You knew it was something I was gonna love, and and so But there's that. We're not talking about gifts. We're talking about the producers.
Yes.
Oh man, this movie's funny. This is one of the slickest, smartest comedies ever made.
And considered one of the most controversial.
Yeah.
I think largely because it's got Hitler. It's about Hitler. There's somebody that plays Hitler in it. There's a comedy. It's made by a Jewish person.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you haven't seen the movie, real quick, we'll paint you a picture. We have 2 gentlemen. They're gonna they've come up with a scheme, and their scheme: make the worst play of all time. How you make the worst play of all time? Make it about Hitler. Make it glorifying Hitler. A big musical number, and make that movie fail. Why do you make it fail? Because you've raised more money than you need, and when it fails, you'll keep the excess money.
lots of excess money.
So this is the premise of the movie, and as I said, like I said before, it's one of the slickest, smartest comedies of all time. There is a lot that it is. A lot of subjects, not just Hitler, but there's a lot of subjects that this takes punches at,
Mm-hmm.
and it does it in a really smart way. And
Now, specifically, we're discussing the 1968 version.
yes,
There are subsequent versions. There was a musical
that ran on Broadway.
that came out on Broadway that was also played here in Lancaster a couple years ago, I believe. That
was as a production.
As a production, not the original, as a side production.
In 2011, I believe it came out with as a musical on Broadway with Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane.
2001.
Yes.
You said 2001.
Okay.
I think it was somewhere in the early thousands. But the big thing is that this is, as you said, Nathan Lane, Matthew Broderick, some big names. They had well over 2,500 showings of that.
Mm-hmm. And there is a movie. They did make a movie out of the musical with
yes.
Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane.
Mm-hmm.
But they replaced the actress that would play Inga.
Ula.
Ula. Inga's from different movie, Young Frankenstein. Different Mel Brooks film. Thank you, Ula. With
someone else.
No. Uma Thurman, I believe.
Oh, really?
You know, IMDb that real quick. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. I was gonna say Charlize Theron, but I'm almost 100% sure it's
It was Uma Thurman.
Yep. I'm like,
right there.
And man, is she gorgeous in that?
She's gorgeous in everything. She's Uma Thurman.
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on. That's just you cannot deny how gorgeous Uma Thurman is.
You could make an argument against it for Kill Bill. I mean, but she was intentionally made to look.
I've actually never seen Kill Bill. We've discussed this before.
Oh man.
We actually do need to complete our
Quentin Tarantino
Fest, which we started over a year ago.
You also have Kenneth Mars playing Franz Liebken, who is the screenwriter for the Springtime for Hitler play that the producers that our main characters use for their, and originally that was cast at Dustin Hoffman, the great Dustin Hoffman, was cast in that role, and he ended up getting a offer for a different role while he was doing rehearsing everything, and he came to Mel Brooks. He said, "Hey, look, I have this other job offer. I'd really like to take it." And Mel Brooks said, "Well, what's the job offer?" And he goes, "Well, it's actually I'll be co-starring with your wife, Anne Bancroft, in the movie The Graduate." And Mel Brooks let him go, let him take the role.
Well, let him audition for the role.
Well, he let him audition role, but he let him off the hook for this movie. He let him off the hook. And of course, that is what that movie. The Graduate's one of the greatest films of all time, and it launched Dustin Hoffman as a superstar, a real legend of Hollywood.
Something else
but it was funny on an interview, just real quick. Mel Brooks said when I saw him in an interview, he said, "I always thought that Dustin made the wrong choice."
So, something else about that I was reading earlier when I was on IMDb looking at stuff for this movie was also Mel Brooks said later he only let Dustin Hoffman go audition for that part because he actually thought he wouldn't make it. Something evidently that I didn't know, Mel Brooks generally only hired people, he said, not to act but to be themselves. He hired people to play these parts because he wanted them to be themselves in the movie, essentially. So that might have been part of that. He might not have thought that Dustin Hoffman would play a good part in The Graduate, but would play a good part in this.
Well,
Obviously,
but I think about this now, and I absolutely love Kenneth Mars, and he would go on and do other things with Mel Brooks. He was the inspector in Young Frankenstein. Do the lumberyard, What did you say? I heard that. I cannot imagine anybody but Kenneth Mars in that role. I can't even imagine what Dustin Hoffman would have been like.
After seeing The Graduate, you have to compare it. You're like, could he really? Because you have to look at what he looked like, how he acted at the time. You look at him, you're like, could that even carry over? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. Kenneth Mars was definitely. That was just, it was meant to happen for Dustin Hoffman, and The Graduate was meant to happen for this film because Kenneth Mars carries a lot of this movie. I think that, honestly, Franz Liebken, to me, is one of the funnier characters in this film. Honestly, truthfully, one of the funnier. In fact, when, it's funny because the OU theater group did this film.
Yeah,
did the musical. I didn't know that. If I had known, I would have.
I think I told you like a year later, and you're like, what?
And I was like, I would have auditioned for that. And honestly, the part I would have wanted is Franz Liebken, because I think Franz Liebken is so funny. I would have wanted to play that, but I probably would have auditioned for Zara Mostel's part, Nathan Lane's part, Max Bialystock.
Something that's interesting. Something else about Kenneth Mars that I found out was that he slept in his costume every single night to help get into character. That's kind of questionable to me. Maybe at the time it was a little different.
I love his helmet has like pigeon crap.
That was also his idea.
Oh, was it? Okay.
It was his idea, but he actually did have a lot of his own artistic. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. He had his own artistic ability that he was able to put forth for it.
He was very liberal about letting him do what he needed to do.
Artistic license, that's the word I was looking for. So
okay, so what is one of the funniest scenes? What is one of your favorite funniest scenes from that film?
The Springtime for Hitler.
The routine.
The actual musical being played. It's just absolutely hilarious.
It's so gaudy and
it's so catchy. It actually
and so loud.
At one time, it was my ringtone on my phone. Like people would call me like "Springtime for Hitler."
I'm sure I would have used that.
People like, you probably don't want to do that. For people that don't know the movie, you look like a Nazi.
Yeah. Mine has got to be the opening sequence. That sequence opens up how the rest of the movie's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. This is one of my favorite comedies, and this is my favorite Mel Brooks comedy. But it's some of my first Mel Brooks comedy.
Mm-hmm.
The first Mel Brooks comedy I had ever seen was Young Frankenstein, and there's a scene
Love
in that
Young
movie.
Frankenstein. I think that was also my first Mel Brooks movie.
There's a scene where Igor is breaking into the brain depository, and on the door of the brain depository it says brain depository, and it has like a little slot. It says deposit brains in slot after 5 p.m. And I thought that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and it made me like look at comedy in a new way. And this just takes that to a new level. And this opening scene of The Producers, it sets the tone for the rest of the movie. The fact that he's sleeping with old women, so they'll give him money for his plays. Leo Bloom coming in, Leo Bloom getting hysterical. All of this sets up the payoff later in the film, and I just think it's so damn funny.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, it's funny.
You know, it's really interesting to see how people react to this movie. Joseph Levine, who was the producer, initially said, "You can't do this movie because the name. The original name of the movie was Springtime for Hitler."
Yes.
And he was very adamant, saying, "Really, guys, I'm not putting this out. I'm not putting this out because that name is awful." And there was another guy, Peter
Sellers, the actor.
Sellers said he liked it so much from a private viewing he had done with Mel Brooks that he convinced Levine that they would put it forth if they changed the name to The Producers. It was interesting to me that in Sweden it was put on as The Producers, although in Swedish, which I don't know how to pronounce, and it didn't get that many. It didn't go that well in Sweden until they changed the name in Swedish to Springtime for Hitler, and it exploded.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that with multiple other of his movies as well in Sweden. They changed it to that.
Well, it's interesting. This movie could have gone the way of a lot of other movies. You know, movies like Casablanca.
That's another fabulous movie.
Didn't do well right out the gate. Neither did the Christmas. It's a Wonderful Life.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't do well right out the gate. These were not movies that did really well in the theater. And Mel Brooks, they did a test screening of this movie, and they didn't have anybody show up. Mm-hmm. They had a huge theater to do it in, and Mel Brooks said there was only a handful of us and a homeless lady.
Mm-hmm. I think he referred to as a bag
lady. And so he said that when the show was over, the financial backers. One of the financial backers walked right past him and didn't even make eye contact.
Mm-hmm.
Mel Brooks was like, "Oh, great. Well, I guess I'm going back to being unemployed, or I'm going to go back to being a drummer in a jazz band. I'm not going to, It wasn't until the great actor Peter Sellers
said, "Wait a minute,"
who was in the Pink Panther and a British comedian, a British actor. He saw it and he loved it so much that he really promoted it. I believe he took out newspaper ads to promote it. And it became a success that way. But not a movie that did well right off the gate.
It was something I read about during one of the premieres, whatever's going on, trying to promote the movie, where a woman, after the premiere, walked into the elevator that Gene Wilder and was it Gene Wilder? It was somebody was with Mel Brooks in the elevator, and they're getting ready to leave. And this woman steps in. She looks at me. She says, "That was just vulgar." And he said something along the lines of like, "That reached so far below vulgarity, that doesn't even touch the surface."
It's funny because a lot of times it'll be put in lists as one of the most controversial films of all time, but you look at it now and it's not, by today's standards, I don't think that controversial. I've seen a lot of other films I thought were a lot more controversial than that.
Here it is. She says, "I have to tell you, Mr. Brooks, your movie is vulgar." Brooks replied, "Lady," he said, "it rose above vulgarity."
It rose below vulgarity.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Rose below. I said above because usually you say rise above. Rose below vulgarity.
So, man, I love this film so much, and I see it once a year at the very least, and probably twice a year, to be honest. This is one of my favorite comedies. I think it's so well made. I think that if you want to be a comedy director, this is your case study in how to make a good comedy, because there's a little bit of everything. There is some slapstick, there are some puns, there's some just that quirky humor that like that awkward humor that would eventually you see that you'll see it later films where there's this really quirky weird humor, I'm laughing but it's kind of weird,
I shouldn't be, maybe.
Well, no, the joke is just weird. I'm laughing because it was weird. I'm thinking the scene where they first go meet Franz Liebken and there's the woman in the apartments, and they go in the apartments. She's like, "Hey, you didn't ask to come in. I'm the concierge." And she's like, "You see the crowd? And he's like, "They got Boyds. Dirty, stinking Boyds. Can you believe that?" And they, "Good day, ma'am." "I'm not a ma'am, I'm a concierge." And it's such a weird exchange. There's no purpose to it doesn't drive the story. It's such a weird little part of the movie. But it's funny. It's got some of that quirky. This sets up a lot of. This movie has a lot of different types of comedy. The slapstick of them with the fuses, and when Franz Liebken comes in and with the Luger. There's puns, and there's just all types of comedy going on in this film. Man, just a great movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Go see it.
Rent it, whatever, guys. You need to see this film. So before we sign out, just comment below. Have you seen it? Do you like it? What's your favorite Mel Brooks comedy? What's your favorite comedy?
And what other movie should we watch and review?
Yeah, whatever films do you want to see us review in the future? We're gonna do the movie we want to do, and that you want to do. That comes out kind of like wow, you're a douche.
Well, as a little call to Siskel and Ebert, we've decided to give it a rating in their fashion. So, what would you say?
I'm giving this film 2 thumbs up.
I think I'm going to as well. So, until next time, I'm Eli.
I'm Joshua. And this is Movies. We hope you liked today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment because we enjoy chatting with you.
Also, check us out on Instagram and Facebook at This Is Something. All the links are below. Thanks, and have a beautiful day.